Tonight on Y News. PIDEA destroys over 10 million pesos worth of chemicals and equipment in making shabu and vows to focus on high-value targets next. The Philippine National Police vows to run after riding in tandem criminals.
GPA's chief peace negotiator maintains that the peace process between the Philippine government and the leftist group is not yet terminated. After 10 years, the court finally absolves Major Harry Balyaga from the Jonas Burgos abduction case.
The families of overseas Filipino workers abducted in Libya seeks assistance from the government. And the Transportation Department unveils the proposed designs of modernized jeepney models to the public.
Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center in Quezon City, this is Y News with Angelo Castro III, William Theo, and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. Despite having limited manpower at present, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or PIDEA, is confident that the agency can properly perform its duty as the sole agency to conduct all anti-illegal drugs operations in the country. Here's why from Rogel Adora.
The chief of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or PIDEA, admits it's a huge challenge for them to perform the new mandate given by the president, which is to lead the administration's war on drugs.
I know it will be hard for us, basing on our manpower and equipments. But again, there will be challenges along the way.
The agency is now set to focus on capturing high-profile targets who are behind the industry of illegal drugs in the country. PIDEA will still coordinate with other law enforcement agencies when it needs assistance.
As I've told my regional director, let's focus on high-value targets. Let the PNP do the street pushing and everything there in the barangay. Natanggal na yung PNP ron. So kami na rin mag-a-assume ng posisyon na yan.
The Philippine National Police Drug Enforcement Group, meanwhile, says it is ready to assist PIDEA in its operations.
Assist PIDEA in intelligence operations. Lahat din ng intel information natin ay iti-turn over natin sa kanila.
Meanwhile, the agency's personnel destroyed today various chemicals and laboratory equipment used for manufacture of shabu. The chemicals and laboratory equipment PIDEA destroyed was worth 10.6 million pesos. PIDEA burned the solid chemicals while the liquid ones were mixed with other chemicals, so this could no longer be used for the manufacture of illegal drugs. PIDEA confiscated the said chemicals and laboratory equipment in the several operations it conducted since 2014. Rogel Adora, UNTV News Rescue, Philippines.
The Philippine National Police, or PNP, demolishes all anti-drug enforcement units at all police stations across the country, except the PNP Drug Enforcement Group, or PDEG. Monokson will tell us why.
In line with the directive of President Rodrigo Duterte to transfer the conduct of all anti-drug operations to the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or PIDEA, the Philippine National Police demolishes all of its drug enforcement units at all police stations across the country. Some personnel of the drug enforcement units will now become detectives or police intelligence officers in their respective areas of jurisdiction to help in further preventing the spread of crimes. However, the PNP says it will not dismantle its drug enforcement group, or the so-called PDEG, but its function will now be limited to drug-related intelligence gathering. PDEG will transfer to PIDEA the pending drug-related cases it handles.
All units are now directed to focus all operation on number 1, anti-criminality, number 2, internal security operation, number 3, anti-terrorism, through our provisions and strategy in our enhanced managing police operation.
The PNP also suspends all Oplan Tokhang and Oplan Double Barrel operations. Based on a memorandum order, the PNP is prohibited from conducting any operation plan related to illegal drugs. However, the PNP insists it can still provide assistance in the government's war on drugs. All police stations will still receive complaints or information regarding illegal drug den, pot sessions, and locations of Shabu laboratories. Cops can also participate in the operations of PIDEA. Based on the latest figures of the PNP, the police had conducted almost 80,000 drug-related operations from 1st of July in 2016 to August 29 of this year. It also arrested more than 100,000 drug personalities and killed almost 4,000 suspects in its anti-drug operations. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The incidence of street pushing of illegal drugs has decreased. This has been cited by Malacanang as the reason why the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PIDEA has been mandated as the sole agency to conduct anti-illegal drugs operations in the country. Presidential spokesperson Ernesto Abella says the government has to focus on high-ranking officials and protectors of drug syndicates. However, the palace did not say in particular what are the basis in saying the street distribution of illegal drugs has been degraded. Malacanang is not concerned over the petitions filed before the Supreme Court that question the Duterte administration's war on drugs, citing this is an opportune time to present the campaign is legal and has basis.
We now target higher echelons of the syndicates as well as their protectors in government. PIDEA will now bring policy focus, expert performance standards, high-level coordination and oversight, and centralized intelligence collection to the war on drugs. PIDEA will also lead in establishing a broad anti-drug coalition working with agencies, LGU, civil society, the church, business, academia, and media to push prevention and rehabilitation initiatives.
The chief of the Philippine National Police warns all riding in tandem criminals in the country. Grace Casin will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte hits the European representatives.
Ito nga yung mga kriminal na buwang patay, ito ang tutukan namin ngayon ng pansin. Kaya itong mga riding in tandem ngayon, pumanda kayo at bubuhos namin lahat ng galit namin sa inyo. Lahat ng pulis ngayon, nakatutok dyan sa riding in tandem. Tingnan natin kung hindi kayo maubos. Uubusin namin kayo.
This has been the warning of Philippine National Police Chief Director General Ronald De La Rosa to all riding in tandem criminals. Based on the figures of the PNP, there are almost 40,000 crime cases involving riding in tandem criminals recorded since 2010 until this quarter of 2017. 28% or 11,000 of these are shooting cases. According to the PNP chief, the police were now focused on going after riding in tandem criminals after President Rodrigo Duterte transferred responsibility of handling the government's war on drugs to the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PIDEA. General Bato de la Rosa also reveals that even before President releases the order to assign PIDEA as the sole agency to conduct all anti-drug operations, he and the chief executive had already discussed the matter.
Yes, mag-usapan namin. Yeah, relax muna kayo. Ubayan natin sa PIDEA ang trabaho.
PNP Chief Ronald Bato de la Rosa also says he felt mixed emotions when the president releases the said directive.
Nalungkot in the sense na parang binuhos na namin yung lahat ng aming energy dito sa kampanya na ito. Then hindi pa totally talaga nag-succeed. Huminto na kami. Dadalan, masaya rin ako dahil that will give us an opportunity to focus on other crimes and other problems na kinakaharap ng sambayan ng Pilipinas.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte challenged the European Union or EU to try to expel the Philippines from the United Nations Human Rights Council. Here's why from Rosalie Cos.
President Rodrigo Duterte hits the European Union anew after some of its representatives threatened to call for the expulsion of the Philippines from the United Nations Human Rights Council because of alleged extrajudicial killings. The reports also mention about a possible forfeiture of Philippine trades from the European Union because of the increasing number of drug-related killings in the country. The president made a statement when he led the relaunching of the Malacanang press briefing room this afternoon. In his rants, he said if EU will really cut its diplomatic ties with the Philippines, he told the EU ambassadors to leave the country.
Kung mag-ano kayo, you will be excluded in the UN? Go ahead! You are interfering in our affairs kasi mahirap lang kami. Magbigay kayo ng pera, then you start to orchestrate what things should be done and which should not happen in my country. We are past the colonization stage. Huwag ninyo akong, don't with us. We ASEAN members can export to each other. Do not come to this country again. We do not need you. You want to expel us? You try.
He also hit those who are criticizing his foreign policy and said he is the one who has the right to decide on it, not the Congress or the Supreme Court. And if ever economic ties of the Philippines with the Western countries will be cut, the president said China and Russia can help. Meanwhile, President Duterte once again reiterated that the sole agency responsible for operations against illegal drugs will be the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA. The president is confident that PDEA will be able to handle the anti-drug war of the government.
Kung ang PDEA, kunti lang ang patay, hindi kunti lang rin mamatay doon sa kabila. Isa lang wounded in action, dalawa. This is better. Or betterer, do you say? Diyan tayo. Walang patay, so walang encounter yan. So better for the bleeding hearts and the media. I hope I will satisfy you.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
After 10 years, the court has finally acquitted Major Harry Balyaga from the arbitrary detention case in connection with the abduction of activist Jonah Burgos. Here's why from Ray Pelayo.
The Quezon City Regional Trial Court Branch 216 found that the prosecution in the Jonas Burgos case failed to establish guilt of the accused beyond reasonable doubt. This prompted the court to decide the not guilty verdict in favor of Major Harry Balyaga in connection with the arbitrary detention case filed against him 7 years ago. The prosecution indicted Balyaga, officer of the Bravo Company of the Philippine Army 56th Infantry Battalion, who was alleged as having the custody of the vehicle used in the abduction of Burgos. The incident was reported to have happened in April 28, 2007 in a mall in Commonwealth Avenue. The defendant's camp had 3 witnesses but they were not able to present them in court.
Yung busboy, umalis siya sa witness protection program and he was nowhere to be found since then. Yung isa naman, may balak mag-abroad tapos hindi na namin talaga matrace. Tapos yung isa nga, nasa military daw reportedly.
Balyaga maintains he has nothing to do with the crime.
Nabigla lang din ako nung naisama ako rito sa case na ito.
Major Balyaga says he is ready for his new assignment even if it is in Marawi City as he has been assigned for 7 years at the AFP headquarters.
Full duty na ako. Wala na akong kaso. So I'm looking forward to helping my organization.
Meanwhile, Mrs. Edita Burgos, the mother of the abducted activist, said the court's decision will not stop them to find Jonas.
This is a bad day. I feel so bad, but we will find Jonas.
Among the respondents in the arbitrary detention case filed in DOJ were AFP Chief of Staff Eduardo Año, who was then the Chief of the Army Intelligence Service Group, as well as National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon, who was then the AFP Chief of Staff. The 2 officers were not formally charged, though the Burgos camp filed a motion for reconsideration in 2013. The AFP, meanwhile, said they respect the court's decision and hoping that the verdict will put to rest the issues that surround the case that hounded the parties since 2007. Ray Pelayo, UNTV, News and Rescue, Quezon City.
In other news, the families of overseas Filipino workers abducted by ISIS in Libya are seeking help from the government. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
Elizabeth and Eileen, wives of overseas Filipino workers Roldan Blaza and Wilson Elige, call on government for assistance. Roldan and Wilson were abducted by ISIS in Libya on March 6, 2015. Roldan worked as a cook while Wilson worked as a process operator in Al Ghani oil field in Libya. After over 2 years, they saw reports from Libyan media showing photos of the two indicating that they were already dead.
Nananawagan po kami sa gobyerno natin na pakitulungan po naman kami kasi po hanggang ngayon wala pa pong confirmation na kami natatanggap na mula po sa gobyerno po natin at mula po sa embahada ng Tripoli po.
The Department of Foreign Affairs has yet to issue a statement on the matter. Meanwhile, Elizabeth and Eileen received financial and livelihood assistance from Villar Sipag Foundation. With them are OFWs who returned home after suffering from maltreatment from their employers. They also received a sari-sari store package.
Pinakasimple kasing hanap buhay, magtayo ng tindahan sa bahay. Kaya yung mga gustong magtayo ng tindahan sa bahay, binibigyan namin ng goods na maititinda nila at binibigyan namin ng konting puhunan para nang sa ganon mapaikot nila. Merong hanap buhay sila.
Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA also promised additional assistance to the OFWs and their families.
Through the OWA livelihood programs, reintegration programs, we will also complement yung pong pagbigay ninyo ng groceries sa mga nandito pong mga OFWs. Yung mga kaanak po ng mga OFWs sa Libya ay tutulungan din po natin.
Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Department of Transportation or DOTR apologizes to the public after the Land Transportation Office or LTO experienced a glitch in its online system earlier. The glitch caused delays in the processing of several transactions at all LTO offices across the country, which resulted to long queues and inconvenience among individuals renewing and applying for driver's license. The online services of LTO returned to normal at 3 in the afternoon. The proposed designs of modernized jeepney models under the government's Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program have been unveiled to the public today. Joan Nano tells us why.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board or LTFRB and the Department of Trade and Industry or DTI presented to the public today 16 prototype jeepneys that would replace the old models of jeepneys. This is part of the government's Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program. The jeepney models presented earlier were all locally manufactured. The designs were based on the standards set by the DTI and the Department of Transportation or DOTR. The door of the PUV is placed on the right side of the driver for the proper monitoring of entering and descending passengers. The new jeepneys also have CCTV cameras, Wi-Fi, Global Positioning System or GPS that would ensure the security of passengers. The passenger seats in some of the jeepney designs are front-facing, which is based on the old jeepney unit designs. It also uses automated fare collection or beep cards for the payment of fares. The jeepneys uses Euro 4 engine that spews lesser smoke to prevent air pollution. Each model can carry up to 25 passengers. According to the DTI, the development of the jeepneys could help improve the livelihood of PUV drivers and operators.
Kasi mas ma-encourage yung passenger, masarap na sumakay dito. I'll take the jeep already kung efficient, safe na. No? Hindi ka mabangga sa likod, nasa likod ka sumasakay. Ngayon, nasa side na. More comfortable, hindi ka na yuyuko ng mababa, makukupa ka pa, daming nakasabit. So ngayon, very orderly. This is progress for us.
The LTFRB and DTI vowed that the government will prepare an effective financing program that would help drivers and operators keep pace with the PUV modernization.
We're working out with the Department of Finance as well and with the government financial institutions to give out a financial package, a very generous financial package to jeepney operators.
The price of each unit of a modernized jeepney ranges from 1.2 to 1.6 million pesos. For now, the Transportation Department is now focusing on the designation of PUB routes to ensure an effective public transportation in the country. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
Let's take a look at the traffic situation now along some major roads in Metro Manila. On EDSA Q-Mart, there is a slight delay on the lane going to Cubao. Traffic flow is also light to moderate on the lane going to Monumento. On Monumento MacArthur Highway, vehicles are fast-moving on the lane going to Malinta. The flow of vehicles is also light on the lane going to EDSA Recto Avenue. On 5th Avenue C3 Road in Caloocan City, the flow of vehicles is green and go on the lane going to A. Bonifacio. Vehicles are also fast-moving on the lane going to A. Mabini. A wishful from Las Piñas City leads in the number of views one day before cutoff. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
As of 2:30 p.m. today, the Wishcovery wishful who has the most number of YouTube views is Diana Tabitha Caro from Las Piñas City with 17,750 views. Following her is Audrey Malaiba with 15,185 views. Meanwhile, competition is tight between Chris Noel Bernalde with 12,941 views.
Before I let you go, I want to say I love you.
And Alfred's Blanche with 12,391 views.
And to leave me, this I swear is true. My love will always be with you.
Wishers have until 12 in the afternoon tomorrow to save their bets. Just visit Wish 1075 First FM YouTube channel to view these performances. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Next on Y News. COMELEC Chief Andres Bautista stands firm that he will not step down ahead of his resignation, while the lower house sets to draft the articles of impeachment against him.
GPH Chief Peace Negotiator maintains that the peace process between the Philippine government and the leftist group is not yet terminated.
And heavy equipment donated by China arrives in Iligan City, expected to help minimize rehabilitation works in Marawi City.
Y News will be right back. The lower house panel is set to begin next week the drafting of articles of impeachment against COMELEC Chairman Andres Bautista. Grace Casin tells us why.
The House Committee on Justice will continue working even during session break. In fact, the committee will start drafting the articles of impeachment against COMELEC Chairman Andres Bautista. This after the lower house retracted its initial decision to dismiss the impeachment complaint against Bautista. During the process of writing the articles of impeachment, they will gather new evidences in order to strengthen the case.
We will have to strengthen the case, so we will have to do case build-up. We may have to subpoena some people and or some documents so that we will have them ready before we start with the impeachment trial in Senate.
On the resumption of session in November, the House will then elect the members of the prosecution team and spokespersons in the impeachment trial. Then they will officially file the articles of impeachment in the Senate Impeachment Court.
They must be lawyers. But of course, we will have a spokesperson too. We will have to discuss also the matter of private prosecutors.
Meanwhile, the Makabayan Black expresses concern on what will be the implication of the impeachment proceedings that the lower house is conducting.
Tangka ni Pangulong Duterte ng kanyang administrasyon na kontrolin lahat ng mga mahalagang opisina, lalo na yung mga supposedly independent constitutional bodies, no? So COMELEC, Ombudsman, Supreme Court.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
Commission on Elections Chairman Andres Bautista stands firm that he will not leave his post following the House of Representatives' decision to impeach him. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
Commission on Elections Chairman Andres Bautista was surprised over the results of the voting in the House of Representatives yesterday, where majority of the lawmakers voted to impeach him. In a vote of 137-75-2, the impeachment complaint against the poll chief passes in the lower house of Congress and is now being forwarded to the Senate that will stand as the impeachment court.
Alam naman natin na nabasura na ng House Committee on Justice yung impeachment complaint. Hindi lang isang beses, kundi 2 beses. Kaya nung biglang bumoto yung plenaryo, sa totoo lang, hindi ko inaasahan. Pero rinirespeto natin ang opinion ng bawat miyembro ng Kamara.
Bautista, however, insists that he upholds his decision to remain as the poll chief until December. It can be recalled that before the voting on the impeachment complaint in the plenary, Bautista announced his resignation effective on the first day of January next year. He says until the president issued a decision on the matter and until President Duterte finds a replacement, his work in the commission continues.
Kasi sa aking palagay, hindi paggalang yun sa ating Pangulo. Alam mo, dapat bigyan natin ng panahon ng Pangulo na sumagot. At doon sa aking liham, kung sa kanyang pasya ay dapat na akong palitan bukas, okay lang sa akin.
But Bautista says before he submitted his resignation letter to the president, he met first with Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea last Tuesday. He says they agreed that he will leave his position on the 31st of December to give the president the time to find a replacement.
In fact, tinatanong niya sa akin, meron ba daw akong rekomendasyon para kung sino papalit sa akin. No? At tinatanong ko rin siya kung meron na bang napili, kung meron man. At sabi niya wala pa eh.
The poll chief says he is now preparing to face the impeachment court as well as the new cases his wife plans to file against him. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
It will be inevitable for the Senate to set aside its priority bills once the articles of impeachment against COMELEC Chairman Andres Bautista is endorsed to the upper chamber of Congress. According to Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon, an impeachment trial is a constitutional duty of the Senate that cannot be installed and must be prioritized. Should it be the case, the passage of the 2018 proposed national budget and the Tax Acceleration and Inclusion or TRAIN bill will definitely be delayed. For his part, Senator Bam Aquino believes the impeachment trial is unlikely to push through.
Because we're coming back on November 13 and we have the TRAIN and we have the budget to discuss. Even if we were to schedule the impeachment as soon as matapos yung train tsaka budget, that would be maybe second week of December already or first week of December. At kung magre-resign na rin naman siya ng end of the year, mag-resign na lang siguro siya ng mas maaga, no?
Liberal Party senators revealed that the alleged destabilization plot was sent from an email account of an LP senator's staff. Nel Marie Buhok tells us why.
Liberal Party senators exposed that several email accounts of their staff were hacked. They were in particular staff of LP President Kiko Pangilinan and Senator Bam Aquino. According to Senator Aquino, 4 hacking incidents happened when their email address were used to send falsified information and destabilization plot against President Rodrigo Duterte.
We were able to uncover that some of our Senate staff have been hacked and that some emails purportedly from their accounts have been used to send falsified emails to other individuals.
Some of the emails are regarding the alleged investigation on DDS and LP media plan to destroy President Duterte, and Vice President Leni Robredo and former President Benigno Aquino III were involved in the said planning. Senator Aquino said this means that there are groups who want to pin the opposition bloc on the alleged destabilization plot.
I hope the administration is not behind this, but clearly, mayroon pong grupo na gusto pong magkagulo sa ating na magkagulo po tayo dito sa ating bansa, because they are pertaining to destabilization plots, they're pertaining to things na wala naman pong kinalaman yung Liberal Party.
The LP senator believes these may be the sources of the reported destabilization where the LP is said to be involved. The LP senators seek already the assistance from the National Bureau of Investigation and Department of Information and Communications on the hacking incidents. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The peace negotiations between the government and the leftist groups is not yet terminated, according to the Government Peace Panel and Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III. Rosa Licos tells us why.
Unless there is a formal document stating the termination of the peace talks between the government and the National Democratic Front, there is still hope that it will return to the negotiating table. This is the statement of the Government Peace Panel Chief Negotiator and Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III.
The talks are alive, and we are just waiting for the President to give us the instruction to go back to the peace table.
Recently, President Rodrigo Duterte said he is not yet ready to talk with the leftist group and maybe the next president will do it. This after the New People's Army intensify its attacks against the government forces.
At this stage, I am not ready to talk to them because it is not good for the country. Kung para lang sa bayan, okay yan. But the way that it is now, ayaw ko. And maybe it would take some time to maybe another president to do it.
But Secretary Bello said the president is referring to the 5th round and back-channel talks, which were both cancelled because of the absence of conducive atmosphere. Bello says it can be noted that the President Duterte's key promises at the start of his term is to bring lasting peace in the country.
He made a very clear statement that this legacy to our country and our countrymen is a lasting peace for our country. So I don't think that the President has abandoned that legacy.
Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte appoints officers in charge for the Department of Health and Department of Information and Communications Technology. Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea signed the memoranda designating Undersecretary Eliseo Mijares Rio as OIC of DICT after the resignation of former Secretary Rodolfo Salalima. Meanwhile, Undersecretary Herminihildo Valle is appointed OIC of the Department of Health after the rejection of the ad interim appointment of former Secretary Pauline Jean Ubial by the Commission of Appointments or CAA. Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno remains calm amidst the impeachment complaint she is now facing before the House of Representatives. In her speech during the gathering of the Philippine Trial Judge League Incorporated in Palo Leyte yesterday, Sereno reiterates that she has a clear conscience. The Chief Justice also notes she never lied or deceived others. Sereno says she trusts the public and that the institutions of the government would disclose the lies being hurled against her. She says she is just doing her job as the Supreme Court's top magistrate. This is her first public appearance after the House Justice Committee affirms that the complaint against her has sufficient basis. Sereno also urges the judges to perform properly their sworn duties and not to let politics affect their work. The Chief Justice emphasizes as well that she did not attend the event to seek support from the judges. The Maute terror group controls fewer areas in Marawi City, while their number also decreases. The Armed Forces of the Philippines says that with this development, the military is using less close air support to avoid hitting the remaining hostages of the terror group. Joanne Nano tells us why.
Government troops are close to cornering the members of the Maute terror group in Marawi City. In fact, the terrorists are now controlling only 5 hectares of land in the city, which the military is now surrounding. Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP spokesperson Major General Restituto Padilla says as days pass by, the area being controlled by the terrorists is getting smaller.
Ang lugar po na pinagkukuban na lang nila ay napaliit na natin, less than 5 hectares na lang. Dati ay mga 8 hektarya pa ang kinaharap natin.
Padilla says the military has yet to clear about 150 buildings of improvised explosive devices planted by terrorists.
Kaya na nating matapos ng maayos sa pag-clear kung ating makukuha ang pinakahuli-huling mga lugar na kinaroroonan ng ating mga hinaharap na kalaban.
The AFP official added that the military now seldom uses close air support as the distance of the enemies is already close.
Medyo makana-kana ang paggamit natin ng close air support dahil sa pangangamba na baka maapektuhan yung mga bihag na naiiwan.
As of now, the Maute terror group still holds 42 hostages, including children. Many of them are being detained in a tunnel at the main battle area. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Rehabilitation efforts in Marawi City will somehow become easier with the use of heavy equipment donated by the Chinese government. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
On board a cargo ship, the 47 various heavy equipment donated by the Chinese government arrived in the port of Iligan City today. These equipment include 8 dump trucks, wheel loaders, mixer and hydraulic excavators, 5 sets of bulldozers, compact road rollers, and truck-type bulldozer.
Check namin ng isa-isa, tapos kung anong kulang, hydraulic wheel at saka engine wheel, ninilagay namin.
The operators of the said equipment will come from the provinces of Zamboanga, Cotabato, Cagayan de Oro, and Surigao. The sets of equipment are expected to help in the massive reconstruction and rehabilitation of the now war-torn Marawi City. Officials await the turnover of the equipment by representatives of the Chinese government before transferring it in Marawi City. President Rodrigo Duterte is expected to attend the turnover. Engineer Pangaga also says Japan is also set to donate equipment for the said rehabilitation. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Rains will continue to be experienced in most areas of the country. Tell us why, Leslie.
Yes, Darlene, Tropical Depression Odette has maintained its strength as it moves closer towards Cagayan Province. The center of Odette was estimated at 200 kilometers east of Apari, Cagayan, with maximum winds of 55 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 65 kilometers per hour. It is forecast to move west at 30 kilometers per hour. Batanes, Cagayan, including Babuyan Group of Islands, Isabela, Apayao, Abra, Kalinga, Mountain Province, Ifugao, Ilocos Norte, and Ilocos Sur are placed under signal number 1. According to Pag-asa, Luzon, Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula will experience cloudy skies with moderate to heavy rains with thunderstorms. Meanwhile, fair weather will prevail over the rest of Mindanao. Odette is expected to move out of the country either tomorrow evening or early Saturday. That's the weather forecast. Back to you, Darlene.
Thank you, Leslie Longbowen, reporting from the UNTV Weather Center.
Coming up on Y News. Some survivors of the California wildfire remain positive as they try to rebuild their homes and lost memories.
The DA Food Masters vows to show the UNTV Cup crowd more action and improved plays as they ready to take down the Ombudsman Draft Busters on October 15.
And China makes rapid advance in the fastest bullet train manufacturing technology.
More from Y News after this break. Some survivors of the California wildfire remain positive as they try to rebuild their homes. Abby Valdez tells us why.
Victims of the wildfires in California, U.S. have begun the painful process of returning back to their neighborhoods and picking up the pieces of their shattered homes. Thousands of houses were left in ruins after days of deadly wildfires, which has so far claimed 21 lives.
When I found out it was happening, I was pretty devastated. Our neighbor, he's a firefighter. He saved our cats and our dog, and we got like all of our family pictures, so I'm really grateful for that. You know, it's just stuff at the end of the day, and I'm just glad my family's okay.
Now Shavid's parents have to live in a hotel, and they will be living there for around 1 year. For most people whose houses were burned in the wildfires, the fires not only damaged their residence, but also eliminated memories. It will be a long-term project to rebuild the damaged houses and rebuild the people's lives. In Santa Rosa, some houses survived, but some were utterly and completely destructed as though they were hit by a bomb.
That area doesn't look good at all. Yeah, you walk by your neighbors and everything's gone.
With fires still spreading, many are frustrated that authorities will not allow them to go back into their homes. Hundreds of people are still reported missing, though communities are holding out hope that the main reason is because power is down in many areas. The Jackson family is picking up the pieces of what has left of the home they lived in for 3 decades. So far, they have only able to salvage a few metal boxes and items like cast iron skillets. Homeowner Regina Jackson is trying to stay positive, being thankful that all of her family survived.
There's so many ways to replace with new memories. We have a wonderful family, and that's where I get my strength. I mean, at our age, it's hard to think about starting over, but you know, we're pretty resilient, and we will.
Abby Valdez, UNTV News and Rescue, San Francisco, USA.
Meanwhile, police and medical staff took part in a close-to-real response drill in the so-called fighting city in Berlin, Germany. Jovic Bermas tells us why.
Members of German Federal Police Special Unit GSG-9 joined forces with firefighters to demonstrate their skills on Wednesday during an emergency drill to practice their response in the case of a biological attack. The practice run took place at the Fighting City Police Training Complex in Berlin. Berlin senators denied that there was any active biological weapons threat to the capital, but said practice is essential to securing the public safety.
Üben, damit in diesen Übungen Fehler gemacht werden können und man vorbereitet ist, damit diese Fehler nicht in den eigentlichen Anschlägen, sollten sie dann passieren, auftreten.
Berlin carries out such exercises without prior warning to get as close to real response situations as possible. Senators praised the reaction of local hospitals.
Wir haben gute Erfahrungen gemacht im Krankenhausbereich mit den Übungen. Vor allem das Besondere in Berlin ist auch, dass wir unangemeldet diese Übungen machen. Das heißt, den realen Fall, soweit es geht, auch mit abbilden.
Lothar Weiler, president of the Robert Koch Institute for Disease Control and Prevention, said that one main goal was to allow emergency health services and police time to find the best way of working together. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue, Europe.
And in other news, a survivor of the Las Vegas shooting spree has filed a lawsuit against the hotel and the event organizer of the music event where 58 concert goers were killed. Nomer Peñaranda will tell us why.
We want to make it safer, and Paige has voiced that in particular to us.
She wants us to focus our attention on making things safer, and that's what we're going to do.
A California woman wounded in the mass shooting at the Las Vegas Music Festival has filed a lawsuit against the operators of the hotel where the gunman fired from. The festival organizers and the maker of a device that allowed weapons to be fired at a near automatic rate. Paige Gasper, 21, said in the lawsuit that the defendant's negligence led to the life-threatening injury she suffered when a bullet shattered her ribs and lacerated her liver. The lawsuit was filed on Tuesday, October 11 in Clark County, Nevada.
We are a simple and humble family, and money is not the driving force behind us asking to be heard. Our driving force is wanting change in practices and security. When we buy a ticket to an event, we need to know that our safety is considered and protected. When we gather in masses, our protection should be paramount. Our world has changed. Therefore, we need to change our practices as well.
Gasper's lawsuit says MGM Resorts International and subsidiary Mandalay Corp., which owned the hotel, failed to properly monitor the shooter Stephen Paddock's activities and responded too late to the shooting of a hotel security officer. Gasper said the festival organizer, Live Nation Entertainment Incorporated, was negligent for failing to provide adequate exits and properly trained staff for an emergency. The companies did not immediately reply to a request for comment. In a separate lawsuit filed over the weekend, a group of plaintiffs accused the makers of bump stocks of negligence for inflicting emotional distress on thousands of people. Legal experts said claims such as Gasper's would face an uphill battle. Nomer Peñaranda, UNTV News and Rescue, Virginia, USA.
In Vietnam, Vietnamese authorities say 37 people have died from floods and landslides caused by heavy rain in Hoa Binh andIen Bai provinces. Another 40 are missing and thousands have been evacuated from their homes as a tropical depression sweeps across northern and central Vietnam. The latest bout began on Monday, and weather officials have warned that the tropical depression may intensify into a more powerful storm in the coming days. In Syria, 2 people were killed and 10 others wounded when 3 suicide bombers blew themselves up near a police department in Syria's capital Damascus on Wednesday, according to Syrian state media. The bombers detonated their explosive belts near the General Police Department on Khaled bin Al-Walid Street in Fahame area. The extremist group Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the attack. And in Spain, the Spanish government has given Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont 5 days to say whether he declared independence or not. Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy told Parliament on Wednesday that if Puigdemont was to confirm he did declare independence, he would be given an additional 3 days to rectify. Failing this, Article 155 of the Constitution, which allows the central government to suspend a region's political autonomy and rule it directly, would be triggered.
The World Cup crowd will miss the United States next year. Meanwhile, Sam Bennett takes a back-to-back win at this year's presidential tour of Turkey. Aaron Romero will tell us why.
In cycling, Ireland's Sam Bennett takes the second stage win after a sprint finish in the Tour of Turkey in Fethiye. Trek Segafredo rider Edward Theuns of Belgium claims second, and Astana rider Riccardo Minali of Italy takes the third place. Bora Hansgrohe rider Bennett is just 10 seconds clear of Theuns in the overall classification. Thursday's stage is a 129-kilometer route from Fethiye to Marmaris. And in soccer, the United States will be absent from the World Cup finals for the first time since 1986 next year after a humiliating 2-1 defeat in the hands of Trinidad and Tobago in Cova on Tuesday. The Americans needed only one win over the bottom team in the final qualifying group to attend the World Cup in Russia. Instead, Panama, with crowds celebrating in the streets, qualifies for the World Cup finals for the first time with their 2-1 victory over Costa Rica. Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue.
The DA Food Masters vows to show the UNTV Cup crowd more action and improved plays. Bernard Dadis will tell us why.
The Department of Agriculture Food Masters is set to face off with Ombudsman Gropbusters as it steps into its third game in the League of Public Servants. The Food Masters, now with 1 game won and 1 game lost, admits there are many areas for improvement and more to prepare for, especially that opponents are guarding reinforcement player Jimwell Torion. Head coach Saudi Relubit adds his club needs to beef up on defense.
Siguro mag-adjust pa sa mga bagay na pag hindi kami nakakashoot, hindi kami marunong dumepensa.
As the Food Masters gears up against the Gropbusters, which now has a 0-1 win-loss record, the UNTV Cup crowd must watch out for more action and new plays from the rookie team.
Naanyayahan ko po kayo na panoorin kami ulit, mga Food Masters. Sigurado po, marami po kaming ipapakitang bago na laro namin sa sunod na laro.
The battle between the DA Food Masters and the Ombudsman Gropbusters takes place on Sunday, October 15, 2017, 3:30 p.m. at the Pasig City Sports Center. Watch the game online via UNTVweb.com. Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
China has made rapid progress in the fastest bullet train manufacturing technology over the past 5 years. Dulce Alarcon tells us why.
The bullet train, Fuxing, meaning rejuvenation in Chinese, the fastest in the world, boasts a consistent speed of 350 km per hour, a full range of intellectual property rights owned by China. The latest generation of Fuxing went into service on the Beijing-Shanghai line, featuring new design and better passenger comfort at a higher speed.
在这个运营之前，把那个红布揭下的时候，叫复兴号，真的我们都站起来了，看着当时这个都欢呼，复兴号，觉得这个名字起的太符合我们这种心理上的这种需求了，真感觉非常非常。
The latest generation of Fuxing has more than 2,500 sensors, 500 more than the previous models, capable of collecting 1,500 real-time information from all carriages. If any abnormality occurs in the cooling, braking, or air conditioning systems, the alarm would sound, and if necessary, the train would slow down or simply stop on its own. The train is equipped with advanced shock absorption and crash prevention devices to prevent carriages and equipment from being damaged. Fuxing has a design service life of 30 years, 10 years more than the previous models, and consumes 10% less power when running at 350 kilometers per hour. Dulce Alarcon, UNTV, News and Rescue, Anhui, China.
Those are the reasons behind the news, October 12, 2017. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am William Theo.
And I'm Darlene Basingan, because we need to know.
We will always ask why. Thank you for watching
Why News.